fam? How you doing, bro? Family, sis? Bro, sis? Them? They? Starseed? Human being? How are you doing, human? Good viber. It's your girl, Esther Joy. Now, your girl's been going live because time, okay? What's the big idea with time? What's the big idea? That's what I should name this live stream, okay? What's the big idea with time? Okay, my friend? Now, let's just have a quick chat about it because I respect your time and I appreciate you for tuning in and taking a moment to talk about it and to open our awareness and our attention to it. So, yeah, whoa, Spiritual White, I feel like you always on it, fam. What is good? So, we're going to be talking about time. This is going to be a rather quick live stream, but nonetheless really important because there's a lot, okay? So I needed to hop on this timeline with you so that we can chat about it for a moment, all right? So first of all, the whole concept of time, I feel like it's really interesting. It's cool, and we're gonna get there. This live stream, the main intention is to understand how important it is to utilize our time wisely, okay? That's really it. Like, if you do not get anything other than this, it is to use your time wisely and to understand how important it is to actually invest some time in understanding how to invest your time, okay? So that's why we're taking some time today to talk about it, all right? But for real, I think you've heard me say this like a lot, how important your time is, how valuable it is. Hello, Brianne, what's good? And this is something that we should always be aware of how important your time is. Why? Because without it, like, imagine going through your whole life experience in less than a blink of an eye, which is what a lot of people report, with near-death experiences. They're just like, whoa, my whole life flashed before my eyes, and that concept of time now no longer exists, because I don't think consciousness exists in the span of time, but I think space exists in the span of time and is needed for how we understand physical matter to move around. And also when we look at plants and stuff like that, it needs time to grow, so time plays a pretty big role here on Earth, and us being human beings, we need to learn how to hone in this area. Now, I know yesterday I talked about attention economy, and time plays a role with our attention because it is how we measure our consciousness being aware of the space that we're in through the idea of time. So that's really how I see attention playing a role in time. Okay, so let me try to reword that into simpler words. Literally think of it as time being a tool or a measuring device to measure where consciousness goes in the span of space, physical space. And I think that's how the best way I can really describe time. Okay, so if consciousness is streaming through space, and it actually can be measured through the use of time, so that's why it takes time for things to grow. That's why it takes time for us to grow, time for us to learn, time for us to mature. With that being said, how are we using our time to really mature or allow our consciousness to stream through space in the most optimal way? And I think this is an important question to ask and directly relates to how we are spending our time and if we're spending it wisely. When we think of it as literally the vehicle that consciousness is using to move through space, we can see time in a new light. Now, I'm sharing this with you, fam, because it's time you know about it, okay? Synchronicities, when we think about it, are reoccurring, let's say, similar instances or similar vibrations or frequencies of moments that are happening at the same time. Your consciousness is aware of this, and it's almost like a ripple effect. And I feel like I'm going a little bit on a rant, so I'm going to bring it back in. It is so important to be aware of how you are spending your time. This is not to bash you if you sometimes find yourself reading webtoons and binge watching anime and just doing things that you may feel guilty for doing because maybe subconsciously you feel like it's a waste of your time. Guess what? Nothing is technically a waste of your time because time technically is infinite. Okay, when we really think about it, it's not like it's ever going to end, that we can comprehend that it's going to end. Even when we die, we somehow, maybe you have an idea of time, but maybe it's different, because I feel like this is just like a flesh thing. Time is more of a flesh thing. So even if we're not here, it's still here for the flesh. And we are spiritual beings. We need to understand that there is more to life than time. Your whole life can change in less than a second. It doesn't need to take years. You can learn things that may have taken people years to learn in less than a day. Why? Because consciousness doesn't really constrict itself to the idea that we have in our minds of time. So if we can really learn how to use our time properly, we can live such a fulfilling and full life that one person may have, lived half a fulfilling life, and it may have taken all of their life to learn or to do or to experience consciously what you could experience in maybe a day. That's like so crazy. Peace, good to see you. Peace be with you. And yeah, time is it isn't real. We're kind of forced into believing it was. And it's interesting. I think it's a part of this flesh experience. While we're in these bodies, we understand that they do age. We understand that this is a temporary human experience and that we are not here forever. And I think it's something that's really important to acknowledge. Just like all of the trees and all of the beautiful plants outside in the natural world, they grow and then they eventually die in time. Like, this is something that kind of happens. It kind of happens. And this is a beautiful cycle of how we see things and perceive things. So do not see time as an enemy. Do not see time as something that is running out for you. Do not see it as something that, and it's okay if you do, something that you feel like you're wasting. Something that you feel like it's just you're not where you want to be at this time. Because, okay, you're not alone, first of all. You're really not alone, fam. You're not alone. But second of all, when we are able to really take a moment to see that this moment is never going to be here again, okay? It's never going to be here again. Never! It's amazing, right? Peace says, I don't know why, but if I could always I want to go lay in the grass. Yes. Like, this is so beautiful, and the grass is growing with you. Nature itself, obviously, peace, there's such a thing called earthing, and when you lay on the earth, you're exchanging your electromagnetic energy with the earth, and you're kind of balancing it, so any excess energy that you may have pent up in your being can be given to the earth in order to kind of cycle through and balance in an equilibrium. So earthing is really good, and it's wonderful because you're connecting back with, I think, the natural timeline. A natural timeline, unlike how we have been programmed in the Matrix, which is really this fast, quick convenience, do everything as fast as possible, we forget that there's such a pleasure and beauty in actually taking our time to do things. That's where the beauty and the life really lies, in the pleasure we take from the time we do things in the between. It's that whole cliche, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, applying that to time, it's literally not about your manifestation, it's about what you do in the present moment. It's about how you feel about your reality in the present moment. And that's what you're going to be creating, because even if you do have everything you want, if it's a physical, manifestation, whenever that time comes, if you didn't actually take the time to attune your energy, your emotions before this physical thing came, then you're going to feel the same way. You're going to be like, really, that's it? Thought it would feel different. But if you don't take the time now to work on your inner emotions, your inner soul, your inner spirit, your inner heart, and your mental communication, your dialogue, then nothing's going to change. Again, this idea of time is so powerful, and when we learn how to hone in on it as humans, we allow ourselves such a beautiful power to really push through what we may have not believed to be able to be done. Macon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I feel like Macon. Okay, you said each thought is a glitch in the Matrix, and each physical connection is a glitch. That's so many glitches. Are you saying the whole life experience is a glitch, fam? Because I'm honestly kind of with you on that, okay? I want your take on this, but I always catch myself relapsing when on semen retention, okay? As a female, I've never really tried semen retention in that way, but I will say that time does play a role when it comes to our addictive behaviors and tendencies, because we do spend an allotted amount of time paying attention to these things in our reality, and the less time we can spend paying attention to these things, the easier it will be to go on with our day and actually use that time for something else. When we think about it, time is the most valuable thing we have because it is the rarest thing we have, and it is something that is irreplaceable. I know I talked about NFTs yesterday, and I'm editing a video about NFTs, and the whole idea that they're non-fungible, so they're irreplaceable, which makes them rare and somehow provides value. Well, if you really are looking for any value, time is your most valuable asset. And so when we watch porn, and when we kind of doom scroll, and when we kind of like spend our time doing things, you know, I mean, I've been watched many animes, so I'm, you know, I can't call anyone out for any of these things. I've done all these things, but I'm calling you out, fam, because there comes a time where you have to realize that your time is temporary, okay? It's not like we also, you know, everyone assumes that they're gonna live until they're like 80, 90, they're gonna live to old, ripe age, you know, until they're shit in the bed, and then all of a sudden that's when they're gonna go. But we actually don't know when our time to go is. So don't just assume or wait for things to happen. Don't just assume that you have all the time in the world to do what you're here to do, okay? You kind of have a mission. And I think that's when we think about like semen retention and a lot of the other tendencies that we may have that we kind of know are self-destructive, like a lot of the addictive tendencies that we may have. That's why it's so important to take our power back, which literally means taking control and choosing to spend your time wisely and investing it in the mission. And of course, I believe that every single life experience that we experience is a part of the mission. So there's no need to feel guilty about what may have happened. There just becomes a time when your soul is telling you it's time to move on. And then you really have to be like, am I gonna continue spending my time in something that I've already moved on? Or am I gonna spend my time with, you know, what I know I need to do, even if it's something unknown. Maybe you've never spent your time doing something like that before. And I think that's the important part. Yeah, soon we'll raise the vibe on the planet so high our imaginations will create utopia. Now, I think that's a great point that you just made there, because a lot of people, we come from like these higher vibrations where we're used to manifesting instantly. Like we think about it, it's there, we experience it, we play with it, we can, you know, whatever dimension we're on, it's like that. Here on Earth, a lot of people, like, that's not how things are, you know, kind of instant gratification. We're trying to make it like that because that's what we're used to and that's what our consciousness knows. But that's just not how the flesh world works, okay? Time actually plays a really important role, okay? If you have the choice to sacrifice short-term happiness for long-term happiness, find a nice balance where you're not ultimately miserable because you know somewhere down the line you'll be happy, but you're also not just spending all your time doing these small instant gratification things that are actually deteriorating your determination and your willpower to get on with your mission. And again, there is a balance with the mission. There's a balance with finding those things that are maybe like a quick fix and you can spend your time doing it, and also those things that take a really long time to invest in and you have to do day after day after day. But yeah, okay, home is Mars. That joke's made by everyone. It's actually true. Yo, Elon Musk gang, where you at? We're gonna go up to Mars together, fam. You know, as things keep going, but that in itself is really interesting because we see here on Earth, we have Earth days. Mars has Mars days, and their days are shorter than ours. And it's really interesting because, as you know, as you get older, days seem a lot faster than they once did when you were younger. Maybe one day when you were younger was like super long. And really, when you think about it, it's because you haven't lived that many days. You know, really and truly, when you were like 1 year old, that was 365 days of your entire conscious being here on this planet. Of course, that's going to be long, but the longer you're here, it's almost like the shorter the days become, the less time you feel like you have. And honestly, that's because a lot of the times it's what we're consciously perceiving. And we can't really change how people are perceiving time, whether they feel like they have a lot or a little bit of time, but we can change how we spend our time and what we're consciously aware of. When you're thinking of a thought, that takes time, okay? I want you to think of your energy and your life force connected to what you pay attention to in your time space, because that's really where the gold is, okay? The gold, 369, we're energy light beings having a human experience. We're also quantum computers and artificial intelligence. Yes, one just has to believe we're wizards in training. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful, Camp. I love that. And absolutely, like, when you really think about how wonderful it is that we can process time in this time-space continuum and realize how valuable it is, if you want to manifest anything, you need at least a little bit of time. Not a lot of time. I think a lot of people think like, okay, I want this really big manifestation, so it has to take a lot of time. But that's just not the case. It doesn't actually work like that at all. If you really wanted to, and I think, again, there's a lot of other limitations that we put in place, because as much as we want to manifest like the most amazing, highest vibrational experience possible, there's a lot of learned helplessness that we have to unlearn in order to give ourselves permission to manifest it like this. Because if you realized how powerful you were, if you just started manifesting things like from thin air immediately, I don't know about you, fam, but I'd probably be a little freaked out. I'd be like, this is too much power for one human to handle. I was not prepared for this. Okay, maybe in another life I was, but in this life, nobody prepared me for this. So let's take a little bit of time to prepare ourselves. And everything, I'm here to just remind you, everything in your life experience that you have experienced up to this point has been for a reason. And as you continue to experience these things, honor the time that you spend experiencing it, okay? There's no need to feel guilty like you are wasting your time, but there is a ultimate urgent need for you to be thankful for however you're spending your time, okay? I used to feel guilty for reading like webtoons in the morning because I was like, this is a waste of my time. I should be being productive and doing something else with my time. But ultimately, bro, I like reading my webtoons, okay? I like my rom-coms. Leave me alone. Whoever in my mind is like, no, you're wasting time. But guess what? I came on this world in this experience to spend my time how I want to spend it. So take time to treat yourself, but also take time to invest that time so you have more time. Does that make sense? So that means investing in your health, taking time to invest in your health, so ultimately your body will treat you better later down the road. Investing in your time means that if you're running a business, it means investing in other people to get things done for you so you don't have to spend as much time. In the old economy that we're seeing collapsing, people in the Matrix had to trade their time for money. Now, this is a big no-no. You don't want to trade your time for money, okay? You don't want to do it. And you might be like, Esther, well, of course, how am I going to make a living, okay? Well, yeah, you got to make a living, but it doesn't mean that you have to trade your time for a living. Think about it. Steve Jobs is dead, but Apple's still alive and it's still well. All I'm saying is that if he was making every single phone himself, he wouldn't be able to keep up with the demand and he just wouldn't have enough time. All I'm saying is that if you're living in the Matrix part, which is still saying that you have to trade XYZ amount of hours for XYZ amount of money, then you gotta cut it, because that is literally tying a direct correlation, okay? And this is the big old anchor that the Matrix has kind of with the whole economy, which is tying your precious time to this impermanent, okay, your time is impermanent, but this really impermanent money, which actually isn't worth anything, but because you sacrifice so much time for it, psychologically it is worth something to you. And there are lots of ways to make money without spending your time hour for hour. And I am seeing this because I have like a whole business building meeting, a masterclass, and if you're interested in joining that focus group right now, currently it's going to be free to join until 2022. Just let me know, okay? Just like leave a comment or DM me on Instagram and I'll give you all the details. But yeah, we have been discussing the idea how you can no longer keep trading all your time for money because it's just not sustainable. And that's not actually how manifestation works. It's not like, okay, I'm going to manifest this, so let me spend all of this time on this manifestation. Though time is playing a really important role, there is a balance between your actual time and the energy that you're putting in. If you can do a really good job in a project, let's say, and they're paying you by hour, you're going to be more motivated to take longer and kind of procrastinate on that project because you'll still get paid even more the longer that you take for that project. Even if it's something that's kind of easy and you could do in like an hour, because you're getting paid by the hour, you're going to take more hours. Whereas if you actually look at the other way that the new economy is going to be forming, it's going to be by product. It's going to be by actually the amount of quality and the least amount of time you can do it. If you can do it quickly and you can do it well, you're going to get paid more than if it takes you longer. And of course, this is kind of weird, and there are certain aspects that in the Matrix we just kind of need for structure. And I don't like hate the Matrix, you know. I watched the Matrix when I was like very young, and I don't really remember it all that well. But what I can say is that I think the Matrix has somewhat of like a structure so that some people don't go insane. And I gotta respect that. Because some people, I do believe that they're just, their mind did not agree to waking up. And if that's the case, then I will respect that, and there's a reason for that, but there's also a reason for why I'm not really spending that time in there. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is timelines and time jumping and quantum leaping and all of that stuff, because I think that is something worthy of this conversation, okay? Like, when you really think about it, you are able to jump into all of the timelines. There are infinite possibilities and realities and realms for you to do. Even the slightest flick of the wrist catapults you into a whole totally new quantum realm or timeline. Think about it, and I know I love this post. It was in the Good Vibes Delivery Discord, where literally when you go back in time and you watch those videos of people who go back in time, they have to be super duper careful not to change even the slightest thing, because that slight change in that timeline will create a massive butterfly effect in their timeline. The same thing is true. These tiny actions that we do right now in this now moment, that we do during this time, right now, presently, can create a ginormous butterfly effect down the road. So what tiny actions are you taking right now that are opening up that portal, that timeline for you to jump into, so that you are getting closer to your desired reality? It does not have to be big. The action does not have to be massive. It does not have to be something that you have to take a long time to do or a short time to do. Just allow yourself to be present with that energy, and it will go. And it will go whenever it's supposed to go. But yeah, synchronicities are a great way to remind you that you are on the right path and that the things that are happening for a reason. So when you see those angel numbers, when you see just, that car honk at the same, the right time, if you get the deja vu, that's a great moment that is just reminding you that you are calibrated to the correct timeline. And that is how I see it, and I hope that this just kind of helped bring some light to whatever you're experiencing in your time. You have the power to change it right now. If you are wanting to experience your manifestation, you can right now, because there's an emotional state, and guess what, you can tap into it any moment, right now, in this moment. Whatever it is that you're wanting to experience, I get so giddy when I think about that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right here. Okay, even when it comes into the physical and when I experience it with the physical, unless I'm actually attuned to that receptive field of emotion and calibrated on that timeline already, mentally, spiritually, and in my heart, then I will not actually receive that in the way that I'm pretty sure I want to receive it, or I'm pretty sure you want to receive it. So take a moment to allow yourself to just attune to that timeline that you are wanting to. Just take a big breath right now and give yourself permission to just be jumping into the timeline that you want to. The more present you can bring yourself, the more easy it will be. It's a neurological universe driven by imagination. Each thought shifts stars, stars going supernova, and neutron stars colliding dramatically are the result of consciousness. You are connected to that beautiful, connective source of all life that is streaming through you, me, and every single living being. Your tiny actions that you take in this now moment are connected to every single living being that is in your timeline. And your timeline is the timeline that we are all co-creating together. So take a moment to just be present and be thankful for the time that you have. I'm so thankful for this time spent with you, fam. I am so excited for the time that we have right in front of us, that we're experiencing now and that we are launching ourselves into. Because 2022 is going to be a very, let's say, monumental shift of energy. And you will feel it, I will feel it. I think we all can agree that it's going to be a wonderful time to be alive. So thank you for taking a moment to just vibe, top in this timeline, and to bring awareness to the importance of time as we continue to manifest and create an even stronger timeline. The more you can bring your consciousness to the timeline that you desire, the more beings will also feel inclined to be on that timeline with you. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I love and appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you on this timeline again. Woo! All right. Thank you, gods. Thank you, beautiful souls here and watching this. And thank you for taking a moment. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Namaste, and God bless.